everyone. I hope I'm audible enough. Can you hear me? All right, thank you, David. Thank you, Victoria. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session, and thank you for making time to join us here at Recyklable. It's always inspiring to see people from all walks of life come together around a shared passion for sustainability. My name is Dr. Mariam. I am the HR and Finance Manager for Recyklable, and I'll be moderating the session for today. All right. So we are all aware that sustainability is no longer just a word, and it is something that we all talk about, where we have people come together to protect the planet, where we have people from all walks of life come together to protect the planet. We have people that are passionate about protecting the planet, from those that help to formulate policies that could help to combat climate change, to people that help companies, communities to adopt sustainable practices and the likes. So at Recyclable, we are committed to inspiring and educating people, especially the young ones, through practical programs, advocacy, and others. We have various activities that we do at Recyclable. We have the weekly posts that we put up on our social media platforms where we educate people on how to infuse sustainable practices. Mary, please. Mary, kindly unmute yourself, please. Mary, Mary, please kindly unmute yourself. I'm really sorry about that. All right. I'm really sorry about that. Thanks for the patience. So, as I was saying, that are recyclable, we are committed to inspiring and educating communities, especially the young ones, on how we can infuse sustainable practices into our daily lives. And in our quest to fulfill our vision and mission, which aligns with protecting the planet. We have various activities that we do at Recyclable. We have the weekly post, which is usually put up on our social media platforms. We also have webinar series. It is a monthly webinar series that comes up every month. And what we basically do for our webinar session is just to bring talented speakers and people to lead to to speak to our participants, to speak to climate changers about the effects of our actions on our society, and also to help infuse sustainable practices into our daily lives. So that's basically what we do here at Recyclable. And last month, we had an amazing and interactive session with one of our speakers, Zainab Kadri. She shared with us how we can transform old tires and bottles into new items and beautiful furnitures. What this is trying to tell us is that sustainability is not only about just protecting the planet. It also creates income and career opportunities. So for today, we have another session that will be exciting. Just from the team, we can tell that today's session will equally be exciting. We have a talented speaker who will help to explore this theme with us today. So the topic for today's webinar session is from passion to paychecks, how to create how to build a career in sustainability and environmental consulting. So together we'll explore this theme on how passion can be turned into profession. But before we delve into today's topic, I would like to ask a question. You can drop your answers in the chat box, and our speaker will read out two or three out of the answers and tell us what she feels about it before we begin our presentation. So the question goes thus: if passion alone could pay your bills, what would you be already rich for? You can drop your answers in the chat box while I go through the bio of our speaker. Okay, so I would like to introduce you to our speaker. I know we've all seen her on the flyer, but we really don't know who Moriola Akeredolu is. So Moriola Akeredolu is our speaker for today, and she's the CEO of Enconverge. Enconverge is a tech-enabled company that facilitates collaboration of environmental stakeholders and also helps to provide tools, that is knowledge and resources that could help to engage in sustainable practices and also supports eco-friendly commerce in Africa. She's also a doctoral researcher at the University of Exeter Business School. Moriola is an expert in environmental consulting with a deep passion for sustainability. She has over 3 years of industrial work experience as an environmental consultant. She has an interest in the continuous study of sustainability issues, which stems from her concern to the inadequacies in the resource management in Nigeria, as well as the increasing impact of climate change in the world. Moriola believes in a holistic approach to achieving sustainable development. Mariola enjoys baking. I think that's her hobby. She enjoys baking. She loves exercising, sightseeing, and watching movies. With this profile that I just read out, I know that you would also agree with me that we have an experienced and talented speaker that will talk to us about this growing field. Okay, so I've not seen anything on the chat box, you answering questions. I'm yet to see your answers to the questions I dropped. I asked a question that if passion alone could pay your bills, what would you already be rich for? You can drop your answers in the chat box and let Mariola take us through that. So um people get your writing materials, pay rapt attention, and listen carefully to what our speaker will dish out as she begins her presentation. Kindly welcome Moriola to begin her presentation. Let me see emojis flying. You're not appreciating her enough now. Yes, thank you. All right, Moriola, you can unmute yourself and begin the presentation.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. I still can't see anything in the chat, so
I can't see
I
anything
think
as well.
yeah, I'll just I mean I'll just go right ahead and hope that perhaps at the end of the
All
presentation we'll ask the question again and see what people say. So, okay, so I mean, everybody, be honest with me. How many of us on this call at one time or the other, have sometime, 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 3 a.m., you're lying down thinking about your life. And, you're searching on Google, sustainability jobs near me. What can I do with my life? What am I going to do with this course I'm studying in the university? If any of that resonates with you, just indicate. You can just put up an emoji. I can see some people laughing already, so I can imagine that some people can resonate with that. You're not alone. You're not alone. And the truth is that many sustainability professionals, including myself, didn't start out as sustainability professionals. Many people pivoted, many people stumbled into sustainability. Many people grew into it. Some of us were scientists, some of us were accountants, lawyers, just passionate volunteers, people who were interested in the environment at one time or the other, and have somehow found themselves being sustainability and environmental professionals today. So I believe that no matter your background, no matter what stage of life you are today, you already have a role that you can play in this field. And I hope that through the discussions today, we would be able to touch on how you can do this. So please indulge me. I'm going to be sharing my screen in just a second, just trying to make sure that that comes up. And I'll be projecting, 6 different characters, and I would really appreciate your responses in the chat. So you just let us know, what stage you are right now. Just give me a second, please.
Hi, Morola, you are muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry, I refreshed the browser and then the whole thing just went off. Can you hear me and see me all right?
Yeah.
Yes, we
Okay, all
can.
right. I'm still having a bit of trouble sharing the screen, so I'm just going to go ahead. Just let us know in the chat where you are at the moment, what stage you're at in your journey at the moment. So I'm going to state the letters, and then I'm going to describe what the letters represent. So just let us know in the chat. So A is if you're a confident professional, so you think or you believe that you know everything you need to know already. You're already working, you're already confident, you're already making impact, making money as well. And you're just on this call to maybe share your experience as well. Please indicate in the chat with an A. If you're a student, or you are a fresh graduate, please indicate in the chat with B. If you're a passionate activist, so you've been volunteering, you've been giving of your time to environmental projects, please indicate in the chat with a C. And if you are a curious learner, so you've been hearing about this sustainability thing and you're just wondering, let me come and just learn what it is about. It seems it's something really interesting. Just indicate in the chat with an E. And finally, if you're currently indifferent and you don't really care, and maybe somebody dragged you to this call, and you're wondering how this thing they concern me actually, just indicate in the chat with an F. Wherever you are, we're going to throw some light on how you might be able to develop in this space as we go ahead. So I'll just give a few seconds for people to indicate in the chat. I know it's a bit difficult following through that. Samad, I'm having an issue sharing my slides. I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah, you can send that to me. You can share
Okay.
from here.
Okay. All right, great. Just a second to do that, please. Okay, please indicate in the chat. Just a second. Okay, I've sent it to you, Samad, if you can share. Okay, so while we're waiting for that to come up, thank you so much. I can see your responses in the chat. I can see a lot of E's. Thank you so much for being here. C's, I can't see any A's, so there's no confidence professional here. Okay, all right. There are no students on the call, no fresh graduates, recent graduates on the call. Okay, I can see someone who is B and C. Yes, it's very possible to be two things at the same time. So, okay, all right. Thank you so much for answering that. So to today's topic, passion, from passion to paycheck, how to build a career in sustainability and environmental consulting. I mean, I must say that it's a very tricky one. And whilst, in the course of the presentation, I would not necessarily be prescribing a strict how to, I hope that the things that I would share would, guide our individual reflections and support us as we craft our journeys as we go along. So, okay, the screen is going to come up. I'll give a few seconds for that. So here's how we're going to move today. We've already had our icebreaker. So next we'll touch on some popular terms within this space, just because I find that even in the quest to sort of build a career within this space, people often, mismatch and misuse some of these terms. And I believe strongly that, the best place to start really is even having clarity on what things mean. So we'll look at some popular terms. We'll talk about who environmental and sustainability professionals are. I would share my story and what I've been learning so far. I'll share what I've been learning from other people's stories so far as well. And we'll talk about your next steps and how Nconverge can support you with your journey. Okay, so next slide, please. Next one. Next, please. Okay, next one, please. Thank you so much. So, to the first one, can we just take like a minute to just pick one of these terms that you feel you can confidently either define or describe, and please just drop the definition in the chat. So you can either define or describe sustainable development, sustainability, circular economy, ESG, career, ecopreneur, or professional. So any one of these terms that you feel you can confidently describe, please just put a very short, description into the chat, and we'll take 1 minute to just understand how those of us on this call understand these terms. Okay, some people are still sending in responses from the other one. Definitions or... Okay, Victoria says, sustainability means meeting our needs today without harming the ability of future generations to meet theirs. Okay. Sustainable development equals SDGs. Well, why not? Yes. Okay, so thank you for those responses. Please keep them coming. Keep them coming. Okay, yes, please keep them coming. Thank you very much. A professional can be likened to an expert, someone who is good and skilled at what he does. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, right. So I'm just going to go right into it. We already have the definition of sustainability. Basically, sustainability is the ability of anything or any entity to continue over a long period of time. And sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present, so the present generation, without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. Now, when we apply these to our daily lives, we find out that almost everything that we do, that we have, that we pursue, can be grouped into three main areas. And these main areas are economic, social, and environmental areas, right? So economic sustainability basically speaks to, can we keep, creating value and earning livelihoods for a long term? Can businesses be sustained for a long time? Social sustainability means, can we keep building fair, inclusive, and healthy communities? Can we, keep making sure that people's health is optimal? And environmental sustainability means, can we keep, living our lives using the resources that we have now while still ensuring that future generations are able to also live a good life with the resources that we have on our planet? And so moving on to, the next term, to achieve this sustainability and to ensure that we are developing sustainably, many bright minds have proposed different, frameworks that we can follow to achieve this. And one of those very popular frameworks in Nigeria at the moment is the circular economy. Simply put, the circular economy is an intentionally designed economy that is different from the economy that we run now, which is a linear economy where we just take resources, make products, and dispose those resources. In a circular economy, pollution and waste are extremely minimized if they exist at all. We're able to get the maximum value from every product, from every material that we have, and we continually work towards regenerating nature. So that's what an ideal circular economy is, and it's becoming increasingly popular in Nigeria. Different state governments, businesses are working towards achieving this ideal circular economy. And I delivered a webinar a while back on this. We would share the link to that if you're interested in learning a bit more about circular economy. Now, moving to the next term, ESG. In any society at all, right, we have businesses and different types of organizations, and the expectations from investors and even you and I, who are customers, users of these businesses' products, is that these businesses should operate in a responsible way, right? We expect them to be responsible in the way that they treat the environment around them. We expect them to be responsible in the way that they treat their employees, the way that they treat people around them, the communities around them. And we also, of course, being a business, expect them to continue to make money and, be able to meet their financial obligations. And that's where ESG comes in, right? So ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And it's basically a set of standards that measures how responsibly a company operates, right? And I know it's one of the rays of the moment in the environmental space in Nigeria at the moment. And it is so not just because, businesses are trying to maybe tick a box to say, we have the highest rankings across all our ESG parameters, but because businesses are also beginning to find that it's actually a great opportunity to even venture into newer forms of businesses, to develop newer products and newer services. So this is one of the reasons why it's really gaining popularity in Nigeria. Now that all of that is out of the way, let's move into the meat of the matter for today. I think someone already described in the chat one of the terms, so I would use that definition. But basically, a career is an occupation that is undertaken for a significant period of a person's life. So any occupation that is taken for a significant period of a person's life could be termed a career. And an ecopreneur, as Miriam, I think, already mentioned earlier in the call, is basically, a person who decides that their career is identifying an opportunity, identifying a challenge, creating a solution for it, bearing the risks of creating that solution, and also enjoying the profits of creating that solution. So that's one. And in our context here on this call, they're not just entrepreneurs, but they're called ecopreneurs because, of course, they are creating these solutions to environmental problems. Now to professionals. So typically, you would either decide that your career would be to be an ecopreneur or a professional, or both. So a professional basically is someone who is good and skilled at what they do. And most of the time, to be a professional, you require a formal qualification, usually a formal educational qualification. Professionals are people who practice intrapreneurship. So you work in an organization, the organization identifies problems, and you take the resources of that organization and use them to solve those problems. You solve the problems of the organization, solve the problems of the clients of those organizations. So now that all of that is out of the way, next slide, please. Coming to us here, who are either already sustainability and environmental professionals or are looking to be. What do sustainability and environmental professionals do? Miriam already kind of highlighted some of them, so she's done half of the work. The other things that I have on the slide here are still just some of the things that sustainability and environmental professionals do. So they basically work to ensure that we have good environmental quality, the air around us is good, water, soil, waste is properly managed. They ensure that new projects that are coming up are being developed in responsible ways. So they carry out impact assessments just to understand, okay, if we go about putting up this project, if we construct this factory or this dam or this road, what impacts would it have on the environment around? They go about, drafting environmental management plans and just helping people to solve environmental problems. Some of them focus on research. So some of them focus on gathering data, really understanding on a deeper level these problems and giving solutions to governments. So that's kind of like an overview of what environmental professionals do. Also, so everything that I've described is kind of on a general level, but environmental professionals can be very specialist. So as an environmental professional, you can decide to be specialist or you can decide to be non-specialist, depending on how you want to navigate your career. And being a specialist would mean that you focus on one aspect of the environment or one environmental media. So like air, soil, water, waste. So you have soil scientists, you have geologists, you have forestry and wildlife managers. Those people are specialist environmental professionals. But then you can also have people who work as non-specialists. So it would mean that you can function typically as an environmental manager, in any sector that you find yourself. And it would mean that you also have some strengths in some key skills. So like research, stakeholder engagement, communication, project management. So these people don't pick a particular environmental media. They work very generally as managers to help businesses to solve environmental problems, to help businesses to improve their environmental processes, and just manage projects and work with other disciplines. Next slide, please. Now the reason why many non-specialist environmental professionals are almost automatically referred to as sustainability professionals, because that's becoming very common. It's almost like you have someone who is an environmental professional and people just automatically think that the person is a sustainability professional, is because usually if you really look at other professions, right, other typical traditional professions, so accounting, medicine, any profession you can think of, all of them are actually working towards sustainability. So they're either working towards economic sustainability or social sustainability. And what happens is that in those kinds of establishments, when an environmental professional steps in, we're stepping in almost on their blind spot, right? And so we are immediately able to connect the dots. And when we begin to proffer solutions to issues, and people see that, this person touches on the social aspect, on the environmental aspect, on the economic aspect, automatically they begin to call you a sustainability professional. So over time, that's what has happened, such that many environmental professionals step into a space and, with time, they basically become sustainability professionals. Now, that's one route to go about it, where, you basically fall into being a sustainability professional. The other route, of course, is a more intentional route where you actually go through formal training. You take courses and you actually train to be a sustainability professional or an ESG professional where you're advising businesses and investors. And of course, that's the safer route and the more advisable route. But whichever stage you find yourself now, there's gold in your story, and there are always ways to navigate these things. So I'm going to share my story, and I hope that it shed some light on what a person's journey could be like. So next slide, please. So, for me, the seed was actually planted in my early teens one day, very randomly. So my late dad used to ask me just different questions on topics that he thought I should know about. And like these topics could be the randomest things. And so on one fateful day, he basically asked me, what is climate change? And in my mind, I'm just like, what are we going to do about this? Because I had no idea, no clue. But it was basically when obviously, Google searching things online was becoming more popular. So I found my way, I did the search, I found out what it was, and I gave him his answer. It was during a holiday period, and I promise you, I never went back to check anything on climate change. I never bothered myself about it because really, my story started from actually wanting to be a medical doctor. So I specifically wanted to be a gynecologist. And, I even had the opportunity in those early teens to actually witness a live birth. I had a very brief internship where I, just witnessed the different practices and the different things that gynecologists would do. And so my resolve was very, very strong. I wanted to be a medical doctor. I wanted to be a gynecologist. But then fast forward to the final year of secondary school, I wrote JAM, and jammed me. So I only got my English language results. And basically, there was no way ahead. There was no way I could use that because I only had English language and you needed 4 subjects. And so thankfully, my parents found a way out and, suggested that I do A levels. And so I was enrolled in college immediately without even planning. I was enrolled in college and I still had my dream to do medicine. I went on to do subjects like physics, chemistry, and biology. And, I just kept on at it. But then during this year, I was in a mix of people who, were really having conversations about, what are your interests? What are your goals? What do you really want to do? People who were having conversations around really introspecting and really, really identifying the things that you enjoy and that you think you would find fulfillment in. And that was the first time I really, questioned this, my medicine dream. And it got me to a point where, obviously speaking with friends, with teachers, I realized that what I was, and also because of what I was learning during the A-level period. So obviously we're doing things like cell biology, and I know you might look at me as a nerd. I don't really think I am, but maybe I am, I don't know. But I really enjoyed those things. Anyway, I really enjoyed the biology. I really enjoyed the chemistry. And I got to a point where I realized that what I was really interested in was not necessarily being a medical doctor. What I was really interested in was in ensuring that people didn't suffer from diseases, right? And what really, ticked me off and got me, going in this interest of, diseases and people not suffering from diseases was really how the diseases came about in the first place. So how do these unwanted, organisms and things in the environment actually get to us? How can we prevent them from getting to us? That was actually what I was interested in, right? And so somehow the journey ended up, with me speaking with one of my chemistry teachers at the time, Dr. Avan, then he was Mr. Avan. And we arrived at the point where I was in between medicine and environmental toxicology. And so the advice was that I should, go ahead and do a course that would allow me to kind of, pivot either way, whichever way I then decided, at the end of the term. So I decided to do biochemistry. And so that's how I got, to this point in this picture that is shown on this slide. That was my final year biochemistry lab. And through that journey, studying biochemistry, it was tough, of course, the drill pathways and all those things. I then got to the point where I thought, okay, what happens next, right? I obviously don't want to continue in this line of biochemistry. I had also realized that I really did not want to be a medical doctor. That's the honest truth. I didn't see myself doing it. I didn't see myself necessarily being happy. And so by the end of it, I just decided that I was going to stick with the environmental toxicology dream. So next slide, please. Of course, typically after your undergraduate degrees, you would do the NYSC year. And so that was what I did. I went on to do my NYSC, and it was a very phenomenal year for me because I served as a teacher in Akwa Ibom State, and the year gave me a really good opportunity to really freely and fully live out my passion, right? In camp, we had this SDG training, so Sustainable Development Goals training. I took that training, I took it very seriously. I found it very interesting, especially the environmental goals. I found all of the goals interesting, but I particularly found the environmental goals interesting. So I took the training very seriously. When we came out of camp, I joined the SDG CDS group. And from being a member of the group, I served as a project coordinator and then as the vice president. So, I was very involved in designing projects around sensitization. So just really enlightening people around cleanups, all sorts of cleanups, more than you can imagine. And I also designed a system where, that helped all of us members of the group to intentionally learn about the sustainable development goals one after the other. So we really thoroughly went through it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. That's the truth. I really enjoyed that year. I enjoyed that year thoroughly. I enjoyed what I was doing. We weren't getting any extra money for it, but I was happy. I was so happy doing it. And, towards the end of the program, I then started thinking, okay, so what next? Remember, at the end of my biochemistry program, I had definitely decided I was going the environmental way. I was going to do environmental toxicology. However, through the outreaches and, just my own personal study during the NYC year. So another reason why I enjoyed my NYC year was because I watched a lot of movies. So, apart from obviously watching a lot of movies and binge watching on, many different series, I also did a lot of reading. And through that reading, I realized that, or let's say my interests kind of shifted from purely wanting to do environmental toxicology to wanting to do something that would be in between the science background that I had, so the life sciences background that I had, and more broader, sustainability solutions and solving sustainability challenges. And so I arrived at wanting to be an environmental scientist. So I, fast forward, I started applying for master's programs, a few rejections here and there. I eventually attended a university fair in Lagos, where I then got to learn about the university where I eventually did my master's. So the University of East Anglia, one of the best universities for environmental sciences in the UK. I was just overjoyed. It was a great privilege and it was a turning point in my life. Now, the excitement of, getting into this uni and just being exposed to all these things that I felt were home made me want to do everything. I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to do all the modules. In fact, I kind of did as many, modules as were possible. Both the ones that I was graded for, the ones that I wasn't graded for, I will be there, And so it was just really a year of learning for me. I was stretched. I was stressed. but I loved what I was learning. I loved it so much. And when it came to the time to decide on my dissertation, so the final project of the master's, deciding on the research area and deciding on the supervisor, it was a whole journey on its own, but I'm not going to bother to tell that. But, the highlight was that after learning all those 1 million things, I then came to a point where I was able to shortlist 3 key areas that I was interested in for different reasons. And these reasons were tied to my past experiences, my present happiness and my present realities, and where I could see myself going in the future. So, as I shared, the program was quite tough. It was my first launch into the environmental, the formal academic environmental space. And something I did not do well throughout the period I was studying, I wasn't actively, looking for jobs. I didn't try to get any internship. I didn't do any of that. And it's not advisable at all. So at the end of the program, I then started job hunting for graduate jobs, and I got rejected. Oh, I got rejected many times. I would send applications that I thought were strong. And as I said, I was in one of the best universities for this course. So it wasn't any of those factors. It was because I didn't have any relevant work experience. It was the same. I must have got more than 20 different, consulting companies give me the exact same feedback. No relevant work experience, no relevant work experience. And so I started thinking, okay, this relevant work experience that they're saying I don't have, how can I get it? So rather than searching for, graduate jobs, I then started searching for internships. But unfortunately, it was too late, basically, because, typically people don't want to give internships without paying the interns. And so that was a challenge for me. It was a huge reality hit because I hadn't planned to be back home in Nigeria immediately after my master's program. But the turnaround, I think, at that point was that when I realized that it was going to be practically impossible to get a job, I then aggressively started networking. I started aggressively using LinkedIn, started introducing myself to people, started putting myself in people's faces. I spoke with the careers team at my university, and thankfully, they connected me to a mentor. So they had this mentorship scheme, and they connected me to a mentor who carefully helped me to walk through my CV, walk through my cover letter structure, and just really brought it to an elevated stage. Like by the time we were done with the CV review and the cover letter review, I was looking at myself and asking myself, is it the same me? There were no lies. Everything was true. Everything was true to me. But they were irresistible, if I do say so myself. And so whilst I couldn't continue with my job search in the UK, my aggressive connections on LinkedIn had luckily got me to a point where I now knew a lot of the people who were doing what in Nigeria, right? And I basically just started emailing them, sending them cold emails, setting up discussion sessions and interviews with them. And so when I got back home, I started having these interviews one after the other. Obviously, I had to learn, the art of interviewing as well, answering questions, really, introducing yourself properly and all those things. So I was learning all those things while I was at home, doing these interviews. I was taking online courses on Coursera. That time, I think I was also a bit crazy with Coursera courses because whilst I had done, the MSc and whatnot, I started seeing that it seemed there were some gaps or there were some. Now, remember, because I did everything there was to do, I didn't really get a lot of the depth that I needed to have got from some of those modules. And so I basically spent the time supplementing the master's degree with, Coursera courses and some other courses. And eventually, I got my first job. So I got my first job, and it was basically around environmental impact assessment, environmental and social due diligence, and project management of construction projects, energy projects, I beg your pardon. And yeah, it was exciting. It was an exciting start, an exciting new phase. I also started actively volunteering at the same time. So my aggressive networking also fed into meeting, people who were running non-profit organizations and just doing the sorts of things that I did during my NYC days. And so I keyed into that. Also some friends who, began to understand what my interests were, started sending me links to these things. And so I keyed into it. So next slide, please. So yeah, I mean, that was how it started. And from the first job, I moved on to my second job, which was the place where I spent the longest time at Arup. It's a built environment consultancy. And I worked there as an environmental consultant and a quality management systems auditor. I think the exciting thing about moving from the former job to this job was the fact that even right from the start of, or right from the interviewing period, I basically had to fight for my place. I had to study the sector. I had to study the sector in Nigeria. I had to study what gaps there were, and I had to justify why the company should employ me. So it's not as if there was a vacancy. At that time, there weren't really vacancies, or there weren't really adverts for like environmental consultants or things like that. Like you really had to know people and, pitch yourself and just say what it was that you could do. So I had to justify why the company should employ me, which I did. And I thought it was a great challenge, especially because it wasn't like it wasn't a core environmental consulting firm. So it was a very sector focused firm, and it was just exciting to be able to plunge myself into that. So I went on with that, met great colleagues who have become family. I continued with my volunteering, and through my volunteering, I was able to meet more people. Now, it's not just about meeting people, but how widely my mind was opened. I was able to execute projects with partnerships from other countries, so the Netherlands, just youth from other countries doing amazing stuff, passionate about the environment and just wanting to make a change. So I was able to really key myself into that, and I continued that. I continued to learn skills. I learned a lot of presentation skills, a lot of leadership skills, moderating webinars and things like that. So it was very, very helpful for me, even in my profession as well. And all through this period, I must say, I had the best guidance I could have. So interestingly, in the first job that I had, my line manager then kind of moved on to be my mentor, and he still is my mentor, Dr. Oyelami. And so throughout the 3 years that I was at Arup, every time that I would hit a milestone, or not a milestone, a roadblock actually, and just need guidance, because again, as I said, there weren't environmental professionals in the firm at the time, so there wasn't really anybody I could ask questions, but I always had him to ask questions, and he would always help. So I had that guidance. Next slide, please. Now, how it's going. So, I mean, after a while in industry, having spent some time at Arup, I also took some time to just introspect at my interests and how I was developing. And I decided that it was time to, pursue a PhD. Beyond my deep interest in circular economy, my goal was and still is to be that scientist who knows the realities of management, and that consultant in industry who fully understands what rigorous academic research entails. So at that point, when I did that introspection, I realized that that was the next thing for me. That's who I wanted to be. And I worked my way backwards to say, okay, how can I get to this? How can I get to be this person who I want to be? And, the next step for me was to pursue doctoral studies. So here I am today, to the glory of God. My fourth and final year starts on Monday, and I have had the opportunity to support, younger students, teaching and learning in various ways. At the start of my program, I obtained what is called the Practitioner ICEP certification. So this certification is from the Institute of Sustainability and Environmental Professionals, which is globally recognized, but headquartered in the UK. So at the start of my program, at the start of my doctoral program, I got that certification to cement, well, not cement, because we're not really cementing, but to kind of roof, let's call it roof, to roof everything that I had learned in my environmental consulting career in industry. Really detailed case studies and just the impacts that I was able to make in industry before then coming on to focus on, continuing my career as an academic. Also, as I round up my research, and very importantly, alongside my wonderful colleagues at Converge, we're building products and services that ease people's journeys. Because as you can imagine, nobody should have to go through this pain again, right? So let's just say that I am currently as much a professional as I am an ecopreneur. And all the gist about why and how Converge, started and what our journey has been will be shared in our anniversary video next week. So I wouldn't bother to share that today, but please look out for that. Next slide, please. And so taking us back to the topic of today, we're supposed to be looking at both how we can make money from our passion. Remember how this was just about what I enjoyed and how I then got a job. I was obviously earning a salary, but beyond, that profit in the form of salary, and just any financial gain that I got from it, I'll just quickly share what I count as impact, right, in the course of my professional experience. So I had the opportunity to contribute to the regulatory foundations of a major thriving energy project in Delta State. That project has or continues to give opportunity to many businesses today in the states to start to thrive. So it's a rare privilege. It's a great privilege to have been part of the regulatory foundations, part of the EIA of that project. The second one for me would be that I contributed to a project. The output of that project fed into what we know today as the Lagos State Climate Action Plan. And from that Lagos State Climate Action Plan, a lot of different roadmaps continue to be rolled out. A lot of different projects continue to be rolled out as Lagos State works towards improved environmental sustainability. So again, for me, that was very major. I wouldn't go through all of them, but I think just coming to the final one, celebrating and enabling at Converge. Along with my colleagues, we're basically taking the opportunity to place the environmental sector and its professionals on a pedestal that it deserves. People are doing a lot of amazing work in the environmental space, but we don't really know about them. We're not really calculating their collective impact. And so that's what we're taking the time to do at Converge. And we're also helping people to, see how they can contribute to missions that are bigger than them and have, long-lasting impact. So that's the end of my story. Next slide, please. Thank you so much for listening and staying with me. I'll just like us to take a minute or two to share anything that caught our attention from my long story. Please just put in the chat if there's anything that caught your attention from the long story. I can already see one. Somebody says Jam has been jamming people since 1920. That is not a lie. It's not a lie at all. So yes, please put anything that caught your attention from the story. Don't tell me that the story was so boring. No. Don't tell me the story was so boring that nothing even stuck. Please don't let's do that, guys. Somebody's already asking questions. It's not questions. What did you find interesting, or what did you think is really important for people who are looking to come into this space, or people who are growing within this space? What do you think is important for them to take away from the story? If you don't share, I'll feel like I did not tell a good story. Oh, okay. Acronym of the communities. Yes, yes, yes. We would share them after the webinar. Yes, yes. Um, okay. Okay, discovering passion early and boldly going after it. Yes, thank you so much for that. Building capacity. Thank you so much. Please keep it coming. I'm just going to share what I'm taking away. So next slide, please. So I mean, personally, I'm learning a lot, but I have tried to distill them into like 10 key points in no strict order, obviously apart from the first one. So the first one for me is God. At every point where I had to do that introspection, it involved me just going back to say, I didn't create myself, Father Lord, I did not create myself. And so why am I really here? What is it that you really have me do? Right. And at every point, I got that direction, even if it was direction of somebody to talk to or something to read, right? So God, finding that purpose and really recognizing my natural abilities. There were just things that I didn't have the natural ability to, and I didn't really force myself to go after them. That's the honest truth. That's my story anyway. I basically just went with the areas of my strength and my interest. So the second thing is value. Passion fuels the value that you can deliver. So obviously I've been part of different projects, whether through volunteering or through my professional career and earning a salary. But it was because there was value being delivered. If there was no value being delivered, you'll be kicked out of wherever it is that you're employed. And so passion fuels that value, and your paycheck is the evidence of the value that you bring. The third lesson is people. So family, starting from the fact that it was my father that planted that seed, asking me what's climate change, to friends who will send me opportunities, to mentors. I told you I always went back to my mentor to ask questions, to sponsors, people who made sure that I continued to grow, even as I was serving in the organizations, people who will speak for me in rooms where I couldn't be, my peers, amazing colleagues who just made life enjoyable. I was part of many communities, and honestly, their confidence in me, their belief in me was really what fueled and continues to fuel the confidence that I have in myself. Because sometimes I want to do something and I just tell a friend and they're like, you can do it. And because they said I can do it, not because I think I can do it though, but because they said I can do it, I'm just going to go right ahead and do it. So people, be genuinely interested in people, not just because of what they can do for you, but always think about what you can do for them as well. So all these people that I've mentioned, whilst they have brought all these great things to my life, I try to also, as much as I can, serve them in whatever capacity that I can. The fourth one is proficiency. So academic, professional, formal or informal proficiency. Just make sure that whatever it is that you find your hand doing, actually make sure you can do it to the best of your ability. Get very good at doing it. The fifth one is planning and commitment. So once you have a direction, move quickly in that direction, and just continue working at that direction. See it to a reasonable end. Don't drop halfway, no matter how difficult it gets. The sixth one is curiosity and having a global mindset. So obviously, I've never stopped learning. I don't think I ever will. Don't rest on your oars. Don't think because you have done one thing, you've got one certification, you've got this degree, you've got this job, and that's the end of it. Continue to develop yourself. Continue to be curious. You don't know everything. Next slide, please.
Mariella.
Yeah,
Hi, Mariella. Can you
yeah.
please check your WhatsApp?
Oh, okay, yeah, I will. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so adaptability and evolution, just be resourceful. The space is a rapidly evolving one. So, just make sure that you always keep in touch with what is going on. Don't just stay within your job and stay within your own bubble. Try to learn about what other people are doing. Internships and volunteering, you already heard about how not doing an internship, not doing volunteering early kind of closed certain doors. But as I began to do those things, it opened doors. Courage and boldness. Take the next step. At any point when you want to apply for a job, you want to request for a promotion, you want to apply for a particular position, just take that step even when you don't feel qualified. And finally, no knowledge is ever wasted. At every point you find yourself, always seek to connect the dots between your past, your present, and your future. So I would move very quickly. Next slide, please. We wouldn't go through this part of what other people have taught me. We'll share the slides so everyone will have access to the slides after the webinar. So please just move 2 slides after this. So, from my story and from what I've learned from people, basically, we can say that a sample roadmap would be getting foundational formal education, in Nigeria, doing your NYC or moving on to doing a graduate job, get professional memberships, get trainings and certifications. After a couple of years, you move into the middle of your career, evaluate your interest, reevaluate your interest, decide whether you want to stay in the sector you are in, decide whether you want to stay in the line you're in, and decide if, through your experience, you found challenges that you want to solve and you want to be an equipreneur. And then finally, of course, legacy. Success is fleeting, but impact lasts. So always look to give back, always look to help other people rise up. So that's what a sample roadmap looks like, in my opinion. And the links that are on this slide are basically links that contain resources that we have put together and we continue to put together at nConverge that can help you at each of these different points of growing in your career. Yeah, next slide, please. So just to recap what we've gone through today, we've gone through the importance of having your why, of knowing your what your interests and your abilities are, recognizing where you are at the moment, recognizing who you know at the moment, recognizing the people that the people you know. So don't look at anybody at surface value. Try to leverage their own networks, even if they don't immediately know people that you need. And finally, always ask yourself, what's my next step? So that's the how. That'll be the end today. I'll take questions and comments for the next 5 minutes. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Recyklable, for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Victor. Thank you very much, Maury, for that insightful presentation. I believe that time is enough for you to delve deeper into that. Thank you so much. And I also believe that everyone here gained valuable lessons on how passion can truly become a profession in sustainability. So now we'll move to question and answer session. We're far behind on the scheduled time. So people, if you have any question to ask, this is the best opportunity to ask. You can share your thoughts and even seek clarifications on what you need to. So if you have any question, please raise your hand and let's have it in the next 5 minutes, please. Okay, someone asked a question.
Okay. Do you want me to read the questions that I can see?
Okay, can you see the question?
Yeah. So I'll just go from the latest one and then go up. So the first one is, do you believe it requires a lot of money to be a sustainability professional? No. The answer is no. In fact, it hardly requires any money. There are a lot of free resources, a lot of free accelerator programs, a lot of free webinars, courses that you can take, that you can already use to begin to learn. And once you learn these things, there are also a lot of volunteering opportunities. It's endless, it's limitless. So there are a lot of volunteering opportunities that you can use to practice the things that you're learning before you then even get fully paid jobs. So no, it doesn't require a lot of money at all. And you can find, these opportunities on our website, volunteering opportunities. What else? What did I talk about? Okay. Yes, certification courses as well. You can find links to certification courses as well on our website. If you need any help, also just crafting your profile and really starting on this journey, we offer that service as well. We'll share all of the links after this webinar. So let me just see if I can see any other question. I don't think there's any other question.
Is there any other question?
No.
Okay, so I believe that's all about the question and answer segment. Thank you very much, Mariella, once again for the beautiful and interactive session. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so I'll call on Victoria to give the vote of thanks. Victoria, are you there?
All right, so thank you, Miriam, and thank you, Maureen, too. So we had a great session. Please, can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
All right, so thank you. So we had a great session today, and I'm glad I was part of this September's webinar, and I know many of us were happy to be here. So if you are excited to be here, you can just send your favorite emoji. Let's see the excitement. Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. Yes. So thank you once again, Maureen, for your time, for your patience, and also thank you for sharing with us your journey, because many of us are looking forward to making an impact, being sustainability professionals, and recyclable is actually effecting such change right now. So you can just interact with us on our social media platforms, respond to our posts, and then you can start from there and be a sustainability professional. And also, as Maureen has said, like volunteer, engage in activities. No activity is too small. You may see something as being little, but engage in that, build relationships, and just take it from there. All right, I'm done. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you,
All
Maureen.
right, thank you very much for that, Victoria. So, as we wrap it up, I would implore everyone on the call to remember today's theme, from passion to paycheck. We all know that passion
Yes,
is
sir. Somebody
powerful.
just dropped a question. I don't know if you can attend to that.
Okay, I'll check that. Mariola, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Okay.
so can you see the question?
Yeah, so it says, how can artificial intelligence be of importance in environmental sustainability? Okay, great question. So, as in any field, really, in any sector, in any profession, artificial intelligence is a great help. It's not a replacement, but it's a great help. It is already being applied to helping professionals to quicken their, report preparations, helping professionals to quicken their research, such that we're able to get faster results. Because the truth is that 99% of environmental problems are urgent. They are not things that you can wait for. And one of the key reasons why over time these issues have worsened and have become really difficult to manage is because research in the space takes time. Analysis, creating reports have always taken time. But with artificial intelligence, all of these things are being sped up. And so we can solve problems a lot quicker. That would be my top sort of contribution of artificial intelligence to the space. So I hope that answers your question, Oluwadamilola. Oh, was I muted?
No, you're not. You're not
Oh,
muted. Okay, she has responded. All right, thank you very much once again, Maury. So as we wrap it up, I would implore us to remember today's theme, from passion to paychecks. We all understand that passion is powerful and it is important. but we should also try to meet it with knowledge, skills, and opportunities so that it can become a pathway to impact and sustainable careers. Thank you once again for joining us. Do stay connected with Recyclable for more inspiring sessions. Thank you and goodbye, everyone. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you all. You're welcome, Muladili.